Good morning, Bitcoiners. I hope you're doing well. I'm loving my life. Who could complain on a day like today? Who could complain? Things are going great. What a weekend. I know I said no show today, but couldn't leave you guys hanging, and I did not feel like heading into Manhattan this morning, so here I am. Here I am. But I'll give you all a chance to come in because it's a weird day. Very weird stuff happening. I'm going to have a sip of coffee before we get going, before we all acknowledge what a week. Edwin says it's gonna get better. It is gonna get better. Indeed, Edwin. I've got a couple funny stories to tell. I have a couple observations. We're gonna have fun. CB, hope you're doing well. Good morning, Bitcoiners and the Breakup crew. Indeed. We are on location. Stanley, how you doing, Stanley? Hope you're doing. Johnny Midas says, greetings, Nolan. Best show ever. I appreciate it, Johnny. I appreciate it. We're based on reality, I would say. P-Man, good morning. Bitcoin is still running, and so is Trump. Indeed, P-Man, we are doing well. T-Dog Yo-Yo, let's go. Indeed. CB, good morning, Breakup crew. Good morning, CB. I hope you're doing well. Hello, my name is Sup Dogs. Sup, hello, my name is. Hope you're doing well. I don't have my Satoshi hat on today, guys. I don't think I brought it. Kevin says, this is a good one. It's a good one. The sun is up, but the Trump technology is still functional. It's still running. Trump is still running. Yeah, I like it. Maybe we'll change it up today. We're not doing the flag anymore. We're over the flag being down. So it's back to sun up. And Bitcoin's running. By the way, there we go. The sun's up and Bitcoin's running. But we've let the flag thing go for a while. Bitcoin Deb says, good morning. Didn't think you'd be on today. Yeah, I changed my mind. I changed my mind about going into the city right away on Monday morning. Who knows what's going on in Manhattan? I didn't feel like I don't have to go this morning. It's more state bootlicking. I have to go get my stupid pay a fine. Like, I'm not going to go bootlick the state this morning. So I don't care. I'll go with what's going on. Who need, like, seriously, a driver's license in this environment? What are you talking about? Like, I'm not doing that. Edwin says Tucker was on point a few weeks ago. Yeah, we've been saying it too, though, right? We've been saying it too. Can't wait to hear the real news. I mean, it was an easy thing to predict. I know a lot of people like, Nolan, you predicted the thing about Trump getting assassinated. Many people did. Right? It was pretty obvious. I don't think it took a genius to figure that one out. We're going to talk about all the fun stuff, right? Just like we have the, let's do one more sip of coffee. Good luck entering New York City. Yeah. Lucky for us. Yeah, I just don't care. Like I said, I don't feel like going into the state of New York and paying them money on a day like today when, they've been out calling everyone who disagrees with them Hitler for 6 years. Like, do I pay for the person who calls me Hitler? Do I do that? I don't do it in Canada. Why would I do it in New York? So, by the way, our DMV is closed on Mondays. May want to check. Now, the Manhattan one was open. That's what I saw. I mean, I might go. I'm willing to just keep going with the no license thing. I don't give a shit anymore. Just really don't. I don't care. Like, what are they going to do? I get a suspended license fee fine. So what? They tow my car or something. I don't care. I'm like, it's okay. Like, I'll live. It would suck, but the good news is I never drive my car in the jurisdiction where it's even licensed. My Vermont plated car really only drives in Canada, so I don't really go south in Vermont with that vehicle very much. So I can just, I got tricks up my sleeve, guys. I got a couple tricks, but I do want to get it taken care of. It's just Monday morning after all this shit with a heat wave, right? Speaking of heat wave, where's it hot? Where is it hot? Let's find out. Let's find out where it's hot. We got some hot news, right? So where is it hot? Well, this one, it looks like it's hot in China. The Washington Post letting us know this morning. This is our Moscow time. We're beating Moscow time right away, right? Here's where it's going. Another year of heat and floods. Another year? You mean this happens every year? It happens every year it gets hot? I didn't know. Another year of heat and floods spur China's climate change awakening. They're awake in China now, guys. They're awake. Beijing has made adapting to extreme weather a policy priority, and weather officials issued an unusually direct warning about the intensifying heat. It's going to get hotter. Oh, I do get arrested with a suspended license? Yeah, maybe. I hope not. Hot off the press. Thanks for the tip, T-Dog. Thanks for the tip. I will, I'll figure it out. I'll figure it out. It's been suspended for a year. It's been probably 2 years since I actually switched the plates over, because it was the plate switching that did it. That's what got me the suspension. So, I don't know. I don't know. I'll figure it out. Who cares at the same time? All I know is it's hot in China. That's what I know, okay? This is another one here from the Washington Post. Eastern United States faces punishing. We're going to be punished, everyone. It's a punishing blast of heat. There we go. We got a punishing blast of heat. This one's pretty good. This is also from the Washington Post. They're saying here that the Taliban, okay, the Taliban is also worried about the heat, everyone. The Taliban tries reconciling science and religion in facing climate change. The Taliban is sitting there saying, oh, we're trying to reconcile our religion with all the science. That's what they're doing right now. Every heat wave, I know it. A heat wave comes to Afghanistan, and the mullahs and the Taliban are like, must be those science bros, you know, with the climate change. It must be all of the people in America not recycling, right? They got to get the people of Afghanistan to recycle. It's too hot in Afghanistan now, okay? We can't reconcile our religion and our science in Afghanistan. Oh, this is good. This is one of those, no one's going to tell them what the cause is, right? But it's just funny. It's just funny listening and reading headlines made by mentally ill people, right? So it's just funny. So this person says, as heat waves, powerful storms, and wildfires continue to threaten electrical grids, well, why is that? Why are they threatening electrical grids? More people are turning to generators to ride out increasingly frequent or longer-lasting power outages. So what they're saying here is that because the grid is so shitty, people now have to have gas generators in their house. Why is the grid getting so shitty? It's the wind and the solar, okay? So they fuck up the grids, and then they're like, well, more people are having home generators now to make up for the problems in the grid. And it's still hot. What are you going to do? It's still hot. The heat waves, they're continuing. And now you got to run your own gas generator. It's too good. Too good. Oh, but now they're worried, okay? So there's two of them here. This one's great. This is from Bloomberg Green, okay? Everybody knows, who could forget the heat wave that hit London a month ago? Remember, it almost hit 80 degrees. They'll never forget. But here's what they're doing now, right? So Bloomberg Green, they're trying to solve this problem. Bloomberg is trying to solve this problem. The heat in London. It's a conundrum. What do we do, right? There may be a better option than green roofs to keep London cool amid increasingly intense heat. So now the Bloomberg is saying, everyone in London, paint your roof a different color because of the heat wave. It might be 70 degrees soon. Again, it might be regularly in the 70s in London. We got to paint our roofs. It's not enough to have a gas generator or solar panels on your roof to pay for the air conditioning. That's not enough. You need to paint your roof for the 6 days where it hits 80 degrees in England. Must do it. Must do it. Meanwhile, right, all these people painting their roofs in London because of the heat, right, to manage the famous London heat, right? What are we going to do about the London heat? It might go away. This is from the Daily Mail. Look, it might just be gone tomorrow. What do they say here? The real life day after tomorrow, right? Remember the movie, The Day After Tomorrow? Well, a friend of mine's in that movie. The real life day after tomorrow. The Gulf Stream, everybody. The Gulf Stream is weakening. It's weakening. Okay, so the water that comes up from the Caribbean that keeps Europe warm all winter long, right? So the water that comes up from the Caribbean, the Gulf Stream, right? It comes up from the Caribbean, goes to Europe. It's weakening thanks to climate change. And it could plunge Europe into a deep freeze if it collapses, scientists warn. So the Gulf Stream is going to collapse because of all the heat. It's done. It's done. The good news is if it collapses and all of the world's temperature becomes so cold and all of our beautiful cows die, and then the monkeys that were falling out of the trees because of the heat in Mexico now fall out of the trees or stay in the trees because they're frozen because it's so cold, right? So there's all kinds of terrible things. But the good news is we'll still have stuff to eat. Singapore, right? We heard about their bugs, Bloomberg Green getting in on it. Certain types of grasshoppers, moths, and crickets could be appearing on Singapore's supermarket shelves and restaurant tables after the government approves import of insects for food. So we got a little insect farm. You can now export to Singapore. You can give them all of your moths. You want to eat some moths, right? I didn't know you could eat. I thought it was just the grasshoppers and the crickets, but I guess the moths are in the game now too, right? So, you know, you just got to dust them off a little and then replace the moth dust with a little like, you know, Cajun spice or a little, you know, a little allspice or something. It could be great. You know, you never know. You never know. Here in Milwaukee, Everyday Walking with Christ says the whole downtown is in lockdown. Police everywhere. Yeah, we saw the pictures of that. Yeah, I saw the pictures of that. All right. We got our special edition of Moscow Time today, which is all of the articles about Trump. Now, you've read so many of them because Moscow Time is everybody sees it, right? So everyone's talking about the Moscow Time with the Trump assassination. But there's some really good ones, right? So we just got to read them again, right? CNN, I think, had the best one, which is that Secret Service rushes Trump off stage after he falls at a rally. So they made it sound like he did a Biden, right? He tripped. He couldn't get off the stage. The stairs. Where are the stairs? I don't know where the stairs are, right? Oh, where do I go? You know, and then he fell. And then the Secret Service went on top. That's all it was, right? And then you get USA Today. Trump was removed from stage by Secret Service after loud noises startled the former president. So, you know, he's kind of like a dementia guy, and they had to be removed because it was like, what's going on, right? It wasn't that his ear was blown off. No. So those ones are all good, but there's some really good ones here. We're not done, right? We're not done. The Washington Post this morning: Musk, other pro-Trump billionaires have helped shape the shooting narrative. They're shaping the narrative. The right-leaning business community on X, including Elon Musk and hedge fund billionaire Bill Ackman, use their megaphones to endorse Trump and fuel storylines about Saturday's attack. They're fueling storylines everywhere. There you go. Fueling the storylines. Washington Post also says, Trump allies immediately blame Biden Democrats for spurring shooting. There you go. Oh, yeah, this is one good too. Forbes. This one is... Sean Harper really did a great job on this one, right? Will surviving gunfire be Donald Trump's next appeal to black voters? Hey, black voters. Hey, black voters. Hello, black voters. You know, I got out of jail. Don't you love me? I survived a gunshot. Don't you love me? Trump fell at a rally. Oh no, the black people are going to love him. He's a gun survivor, gun shooting survivor. So there you go. That's our Moscow Time for today. There's way more out there. Oh no, I got a couple more. I can do, you know what people have been bringing up? The old George Floyd Summer articles, right? Because it's sort of in a similar vein, right? Or at least the other side of the coin. Here we go. Editorial. Stop focusing on looting. This goes back to the summer of 2020, okay? Stop focusing on looting in Minneapolis. Be outraged that police keep killing black men. Be outraged. Be outraged. It's okay if you're outraged. The violence in American cities reflects the fury of polarization. It does. It does. There you go. There's a whole bunch of these that people came up with. They dug them all up. Pretty crazy stuff. All right. So first of all, let's talk about what happened very quickly. Everyone's talking about it. But what I'm going to do right now is just say, let's remove the Secret Service corruption argument for a minute, right? I don't care about it. I love it. We'll talk about it towards the end, but let's remove it right away. Incompetence can explain most of what went on there, right? And we're going to talk about the incompetence, but it doesn't really matter, right? We'll talk about where it goes. So remove that for a second, right? We don't care about the corruption of the Secret Service or anything like that, right? Doesn't have to be a plot. I don't want to talk about this as like Biden knew what was going on and blah, blah, blah. Also, maybe, it doesn't matter, right? It doesn't matter. Who caused it, right? Why did this happen in the first place? It's almost exactly like the elections in the sense that the media for so long has been calling people like you, people like me, Hitler, right? And when you do that for long enough, when you vilify people this much, when you have all these people like Reid Hoffman saying he wishes he was a martyr. Have you seen the supercut of all of the different violence porn that Hollywood stars have displayed when it comes to Trump? He's been threatened with being blown up, shot, murdered, head cut off, beheaded, right? All of these things. So when you dehumanize people to this extent, this is what's going to happen, right? It's the same with the elections, right? I've never believed that there was, now there may be, I'm not saying it's zero, but I've never believed there was an orchestrated plot other than the vote system, right? The flooding the zone with the mail-in ballots. But that's all they needed to do. They could trust that people who believed they were one step away from being in Nazi Germany, that they would do what they needed to do to save America, right? So you got to imagine that everyone who participated in the cheat years ago were inspired truthfully by helping America. You'd expect them to do nothing less, right? In the same way that you would expect if enough people really believe that actually Hitler is coming to America. Who wouldn't do that? So because they live in this hell, because they have made hell on earth for the viewers of the fake news and the people who have to live with that as their information sources, because they've made this situation, they've got just tons of brain damaged people. And if you have that many brain damaged people, you can expect something exactly like this to happen. So it doesn't matter if this guy was with BlackRock and all that stuff. You know, everyone found the BlackRock video and MK Ultra. It definitely looks like MK Ultra. It definitely does. So I'm not arguing that I know it's one way or the other. I'm saying I don't feel like talking about it because it's speculation. What we know for certain is the dehumanizing type of rhetoric that's been used against Trump supporters for years now, and Trump himself in particular, has manifested itself in violence, and it is responsible for this. The mainstream media, in constantly comparing Trump to all of these people, Sergio says that Destiny fella. Well, the Destiny thing is mental illness. I mean, you're not seeing someone. This is someone who is living hell on earth. I mean, remember, I've mentioned many times the Milton play or the Milton poem Paradise Lost, right? And if you don't know what it's about, it's sort of a sympathetic view of Satan, but not to make Satan like a hero or a rock star. It just tries to humanize Satan a little bit in the sense of the story. And what it comes down to at the end is that when Satan gets the Adam and Eve to be kicked out of the Garden of Eden by corrupting them, he doesn't really gain much pleasure out of it. He realizes that hell is wherever he goes, that he himself, where he is hell. And because he gets no satisfaction out of what he's done, right? It's not like job over. He realizes now that they're out of there, he's got to keep punishing them outside of Eden and to get any kind of pleasure. He's got to keep corrupting them. There's no other way forward. And he realizes that he is living his own personal hell. So I would ignore the Destiny guy. I really would. Like, we're going to talk about it as we go along here, but we have to be very cool right now and not let people like Destiny make us angry, right? We got to keep laughing at destiny. We have to. Like, there's no other solution here. So we got to just imagine destiny getting a fiat UBI because he doesn't know what's going on, right? And then suddenly everything collapses. He gets a bit of fiat UBI. He gets food stamps from the government, and that's his life. That's what he has going forward. All right. The ability for him to be taken seriously on any subject was never really there. He only did one thing. He was willing to be a left-wing guy who went on right-wing shows, or whatever you want to call it, populist and all that stuff. He was a credentialist who and bootlicker who decided to go on these shows. So bootlicking, because again, he's one of these people who probably was good at school, right? Probably got good grades, probably has a high IQ, sort of, right? That's the kind of person, or high enough IQ. But that's the kind of person we're dealing with here. So let's go back to the way Trump was vilified and all these things. Now, here's the interesting thing. I predict it's going to continue, right? In the sense that they're going to now flip this whole thing to be Trump's fault, obviously, right? So you're going to get a few days here where most of the people say, oh, we have to come together as a country, like what Biden said last night. We have to not vilify our enemies and this and that. But very soon, you're going to see that this was Trump's fault, right? Trump, he's Hitler, and he has a violent rhetoric. And then because of that, what are we supposed to do? We had it coming, right? It's their fault. So that's where it's headed, right? Obviously, they're not going to take responsibility. But here's what Matt Walsh says, and Scott Adams has said this, but look at the conundrum the sludge people are in. Look at the conundrum the sludge people are in, right? Dems are in a real conundrum. If Trump is really an evil supervillain dictator who wants to destroy our system of government, or whatever they have then assassinating him would be morally justified. Let me read that again. If Trump is really an evil supervillain dictator who wants to destroy our system of government, or whatever, then assassinating him would be morally justified. But they don't want to justify this, which means they're confessing that everything they said about him for years was nonsense, right? They either have to openly defend this assassination attempt or admit that they were full of shit. There is no good option. They're screwed. So what they're going to do is they're going to leave it for a few days, and then they are definitely going to start saying, well, he kind of had it coming, right? Is he really that different than Hitler? So I predict they're going right back into the same messaging. They're not going to change much, right? Which is why you're only seeing the news people. Like, you're not seeing much Rachel Maddow, and you're not seeing much of these opinion people yet, because they're trying to keep them until they can go back with their talking points. So the conundrum then that they have is that they can't really go as hard, and they can't really double down on that stuff yet, but they will. They're going to double down, and they're going to create more mentally ill people, right? So you're going to get more mental illness. And remember what I said about the whole political division, the whole political fault line switching from Republican and Democrat clearly into the money and Bitcoin, or the dollar and Bitcoin situation, right? So it's the Balaji frame of red and blue shifting to orange and green. That's where this is going to head, right? You're going to start to see that all of his desire to change up the system, basically throwing away all of these institutions, is going to become the predicate for him destroying our dumb or crazy, right? You can call democracy dumb-crazy, right? The dumb-crazy. So it's just the dumb-crazies left, right? You get a bunch of dumb-crazies, and most of the dumb-crazies are being brainwashed to be either dumb or crazy. It's one of the two, dumb or crazy, right? So you're dumb or crazy, and you read all this stuff, and you get all this toxic brainwashing content just absolutely downloaded into your head every single day, right? And most people can't resist it. And that's why you're starting to get this kind of situation. So the brainwashing, because it's become so obvious, because I can sit here and predict exactly where it's headed. I mean, it's easy to see. The gears of the machine, the architecture of deceit, everything we talk about on the show, right? We've been talking about the fiat financial system. Fiat, the definition being government language, government words, right? Government declarations are the actual form of money that fiat has taken. Government declarations are the actual financial system here. So if the financial system is government propaganda, the propagation of the propaganda becomes how the network reaches consensus and moves forward. There's no other way. Government propaganda as money requires government propaganda to propagate in order for the money to have any meaning, which is now what is being actually threatened, right? So the bigger picture here is that what pays for all of this architecture of deceit is coming down, and fast. So when you start to see these doubts that people have in these institutions, right? The institutions that should save Americans, FBI. What do we hear today, right? The FBI has come out and said, he acted alone. No one believes the FBI on this stuff, right? So the FBI, and remember, Trump looked like he was giving the FBI safe harbor just a few weeks ago, something I complained about, right? I saw Trump use his supreme technique to talk about how, no. Instead of new FBI headquarters, yes or no, which is where most people were at, he decided to go to no. New FBI headquarters in downtown, not in the suburbs. So this is a Trump think past the sale persuasion technique. He went further than should we build a new thing or not. He started talking about where to build it, right? So this is a clever way of how to do it, right? So that's what we see on that level. And when you start to see the FBI and these folks now come under Trump's gaze more than they were before, things are starting to shift. I don't think Trump was there. I think now that you have Trump, I don't think you'll have much confidence in the FBI after this, right? At all. And when you see the failures of the Secret Service, right? Now you get a lot of people calling for this Eric Prince guy. I don't know if you guys know Eric Prince, but that's the Blackwatch private security entity that's out there. And so Eric comes out and wrote a pretty interesting tweet yesterday saying, hopefully after the tragedy yesterday in Pennsylvania, we can all recognize that unaccountable, bloated bureaucracies continue to fail us as Americans. So again, I don't care if the guy shooting made a mistake. Everyone talking about that guy shooting, right? The counter sniper with Trump, about when he had the call to go and when he didn't. I can see in slow motion why people would be convinced he was in on it, right? But I still don't think so. My sensors are not going off. I could be wrong. It could be the case. Oh, hey, Cece. Okay. Yeah, we're visiting some friends today, so there you go. So where was I? By having these bureaucracies fail the way they have, right? By having the Secret Service and the guy, the counter sniper rifleist, right? Yeah. I threatened the you got to hear this story, guys. So do you know that I've created a fake financial system for my children, like completely fake fiat system? It used to be just called Bonus. It was just called Bonus, right? It turned into Papa Points when my dad died. And so Papa Points are basically anytime I buy them something in a store, I'll say, oh, it's your Papa Points, you're cashing them in. So it's all stuff they would get anyway. But it's a financial system that they get extra and they get it taken away if they don't do what I ask when I ask. And it's it's just this fake system. And my goal is that one day when they realize how fake this financial system is that I created for them, I mean, they're already Bitcoiners, but this is, I figured I would let the Santa and everything go into the monetary reality argument over time. So there's an entirely elaborate financial system built around their lives. That's not real at all. I used to do that when I worked at camps. I would create a bonus point system for all the kids who did my stuff when I was a counselor there. And at the end of the summer, they'd be like, "What did I get?" And I'd be like, "A wedgie." It was never real, right? It was always like just there were no prizes. So there you go. But it's a great lesson. So if you need to use the bonus point system, right? Bonus points are cashed in at Christmas and birthdays and other holidays, or else randomly, so that there's always sort of an ongoing inflow and outflow. There's always a cash flow bonus, right? So there you go. It's a neat system. So go back to Eric Prince and this Black Watch thing. So he's saying Donald Trump is alive today solely due to a bad win estimate by an evil would-be assassin. As the graphics show, the full value win of just 5. So that was one of the mistakes they made, right? The flag apparently in the background, the flag in the background was exactly what a sniper rifle, a sniper would want, right? Because that lets you gauge the wind. So if you look at any shooting range, you'll see a flag out there so that the sniper can target that stuff, right? So now, everything about the failures could look like a conspiracy on the part of the Secret Service, and I don't know if it isn't, right? The woman in charge of it looks like an idiot. And I think you can't underestimate the power of DEI to screw up an entire organization like the Secret Service. The women cowering behind Trump yesterday, you know, they're a little kind of not healthy looking, like they eat a lot of seed oil, people, right? So you get a bunch of seed oil pumped up broads trying to save the president by hiding behind him, right? So if you see that picture, you'll know that incompetence is probably rife throughout it. I watched like a commercial type of thing about when the lady got the job to be in charge of the Secret Service. She's obviously a libtard, right? She was all about like, it was just terrible, right? So the Secret Service, it doesn't matter if they're corrupted, and they probably are. Look, I believe the Secret Service killed the Kennedys, both of them, right? This is not an argument that they're a healthy organization at all. I'm saying you don't need to prove they're evil. Their incompetence is enough. It's enough, right, for what we need. So their incompetence is enough. So that's why Eric Prince is going on here, right? Donald Trump is alive today because of the wind, right? Donald J. Trump was not saved by Secret Service brilliance. The fact that the Secret Service allowed a rifle-armed shooter within 150 yards to a pre-planned event is either malice or massive incompetence. Clearly, there was adequate uncontrolled dead space for a shooter to move into position and take multiple aim shots. Watching the newsreel, one can hear how proximate the shooter was by the very short time lapse between the crack of the arriving bullet, supersonic, and the boom of the muzzle blast, sonic. So he says, in my old business of providing diplomatic security in 2 active war zones, we were expected to execute the basics or we would be fired. Clearly, the Secret Service failed at the basics of a secure perimeter, and once shots were fired, their extraction was clumsy and left Trump highly exposed to follow-on attacks. It looked like they had never been drilled together because those responses should be effectively automatic. Now, there is a whole bunch of other rumors going around today that Trump had the weakest team of all newbie Secret Service people because Jill Biden was in town or was around the area doing something else, and then Kamala drew a bunch of the protection to her too. So this whole thing is, it's been around. The incompetence question has been around for things like this, right? Flooded the zone. Now, this could really be. Again, I'm not saying there is no conspiracy inside of the Secret Service. Not what I'm saying, right? I'm not saying that everyone there is trustworthy. I believe, like any bureaucracy, they could have evil people inside. But the incompetence is enough, right? The incompetence is enough for what we need to talk about, which is where this stuff goes after this, right? So when you start imagining that there are, and now you're going to hear about Mayorkas, right? Mayorkas, it turns out that Mayorkas, the guy they tried to impeach, he's in charge of issuing more Secret Service detail or not, right? So it turns out that Mayorkas is the guy in charge of not giving RFK Secret Service. Now, I loved what RFK's kid said about it yesterday, RFK the third. RFK the third yesterday said, we don't want the Secret Service anymore. get them out of here. We're going full private. Now, Bitcoiners have been providing a lot of private security to RFK. I think you're going to see at our event anyway, just think about it. Trump is coming to our event in 2 weeks. 2 weeks, right? Are we going to have a bunch of Secret Service there? Maybe, but I think we're going to have our own too. And by having our own, I think you're going to start to see this trend. Balaji's been talking about this. What you're going to see is the Secret Service replaced by a private source. I don't think Trump's going to go with the Secret Service anymore. And by not going with the Secret Service, we're actually starting to build these new institutions. And you're going to see, I think, Trump take his own private security and apply it to his own personal protection because the bureaucracy is corrupted and finished and useless. Now, this argument of fake Washington, D.C. agencies like the FBI, like the CIA, they've been there for so long because the corruption that's entered the system keeps them alive. By having something so drastic as this, I think you might start finding that there's a possibility for something else entirely. I think a new Secret Service can become a model for how to actually destroy Washington, D.C. A new Secret Service for Trump and his own, and I don't mean a government-funded one, I mean Eric Prince, I mean this guy, I mean the private guys coming into the business where they don't have to worry about the DEI, they don't have to have any unathletic, obese women trying to run point on a extraction in a combat zone, right? You don't ever want to see these cowering females around these situations again, ever. Not for DEI, not for whatever, right? So what you're going to get is, I think anyway, Trump embracing the anarcho-capitalistic answer to his problems, which is a third-party entity, not from the government, from his own money paid to keep him safe. And when you start experimenting with that, once you start seeing that you can have these private entities that don't have bloat, that don't have the same problems of bureaucracy, I think it's going to catch on. I think Trump has just been given the predicate he needs to liquidate Washington, D.C. And that's what's different here. I think that Trump was starting to talk about saving the FBI before. And you've heard now Trump has said, he gave an interview yesterday to the Washington Examiner, by the way. And Trump said in that interview that his speech this week at the convention is totally and radically different than it was last week. It was all going to be Biden. It was all going to be policies. Now it's all about coming together, bringing the country together. And how is he going to do that? He's going to talk about the architecture of deceit. Basically, he's going to talk about how the brainwashing apparatus works by using the government and the media, who are the same entity, right? The third-party bureaucracy agencies and the media, who are more or less the same thing. They're captured, right? The media is captured by these entities. And the corrupt merger of private business and regulators and media that all work together. And the Fiat system requires this to go forward. And so I think Trump now takes real direct aim at some of the security apparatus that's inside of DC, whereas he might not have been willing to do that before. I think this is the end. This assassination is the end of the CIA. It's the end of the FBI. It's the end of the Secret Service. It's the end of a private cabal of security agents working inside of Washington, D.C. This will be broken and broken forever. And if he can make it to the end, right? It's not obvious he's going to make it to the end. Because remember, this thing happens right after he loses judicial, or he gets judicial immunity, right? When the Supreme Court comes in 2 weeks ago and says, no, you're fine. It's no coincidence that the assassination attempt happens right after. Because they went with the Nixon-Watergate approach, right? They went with Nixon-Watergate, which is destroy his character, make him a criminal, make him step down. Didn't work. So they went with the JFK approach, right? The JFK approach. And that didn't work either. So what's next, right? They're going to keep trying the JFK approach. There's no other way. There's no other way. You have to understand that these are cornered animals now. And cornered animals will react in predictable ways. So as they're cornered animals, you're going to see them continue to try to, make all of this stuff happen, right? But we're now at the point. Now, I've said this before. I've said that when the 2020 election happened, right? When the 2020 election happened, and it looked like they were going to just do the cognitive closure, persuasion, and bring Biden forward as the president using the FTX prediction models as the hypnotizing bauble that they used to do the magic trick. Look, the non-sentimental people, right? And they switched them. I said to all of my friends who would listen, we were all in lockdown, calling people, that if we can't talk about the Russian collusion hoax that got us there, right, that got us to this point, if we can't talk about the hoaxes that have got us this far, we're nowhere. And we're never going to get out of this. It has nothing to do with who stole the election and what happened with the machines and who really won. It was the stories beforehand that made Trump Hitler, that gave the predicate needed for people to, without coordination, cheat the way they did. Just like we have this, without coordination, assassinate the way they did. It's the same play. The Russia collusion, election steal, right? All that stuff is the exact same story. It's the exact same story. You just have to put it out there into the environment enough and hope that one mentally ill person acts on it. Very high probability, right? So it's just throwing the dice. You don't need to actually educate and show someone how to kill Trump. You can just go out and say, Hitler, 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 and it will take care of itself eventually. The election probably took care of itself, and this case probably took care of itself. So the difference now is that you're going to have the ability, the moral high ground, to talk about all these hoaxes in context, and to give the same varnish to all of these hoaxes, because they're all hoaxes. The hoaxocracy really got thrown into overdrive and has to run propaganda more than ever now. They're going to have to, and this is what Matt Taibbi says, right? And this is what we have to prepare for. This is where things are at, right? Matt Taibbi wrote this and said, let me see where I have it. Let me see where my Matt Taibbi stuff is. So Matt Taibbi wrote, we should all probably steel ourselves for what will surely be the mother of all propaganda onslaughts. To say this is a critical moment in American history is an understatement. Everything is on the line, which means no lie will be out of bounds. So we are about to experience propaganda like you have never seen. They're going to blame everyone else besides themselves for what Trump did and for what happened to Trump. And in doing so, they're going to go after everybody, right? They're going to go after everything. And because they're going to go after everyone, they're going to make the polarization obviously worse, right? So it's going to become worse. I don't see how it's going to get any better. They're going to try again, I think. And through all of this, what you're going to have is the people who understand we live in a hoaxocracy are not going to back down anymore. We're not just going to say, well, you know, you can have your opinions and I can have mine and this and that. No. We're now into the blow it up conversation. You can actually say blow it up to people. You can actually say and when I say blow, I don't mean violence, right? When I say blow it up, I mean the institutions. So it's very important that we don't act violently at all in the next little while. Very important. Because I'll explain. What we're seeing here is the Fiat apocalypse, right? This is the Fiat apocalypse. This is what it looks like. It's the institutions dying. The institutions that propagate the Fiat network are dying. The people that still believe in those networks are dying along with it. They're suffering severe mental illness, psychological degradation from believing in these institutions that are coming down. That's why they're all NPCs, right? So the ways you can go down with the Fiat apocalypse are you can continue to be a credentialist, right? Well, they said, well, you know, the government said. You can continue to be a follower, right? Oh, what are they going to say? Oh, you can continue to be a sports baller, right? I don't understand. This is all conspiracy theories and this is all complicated stuff, right? I don't know. You can be a Karen, right? There's all these ways you can continue to fail and go down with the ship. To survive the Fiat apocalypse, there are a few avenues you can take. The archetypes of being a Bitcoiner. Bitcoin archetypes, various kinds, are actually the way to survive this type of brainwashing that we're about to experience, right? They've served me well this whole, remember, I've been a hardcore Trump supporting Bitcoiner since 2015. I have never changed and wavered from what I am publicly. I've told everybody this. This is always who I've been. I've always been a very open, never hit it Trump supporter, open, never hit it Bitcoiner, right? And because of these two things, you lose a lot of friends, you lose a lot of, it creates a certain amount of disharmony in your life. But the difference now is that there's no more backing down from it. There's no more maybe, you know, you can actually take the whole fight to them in a rhetorical way. But more importantly, the Bitcoin psychology offers us these clear pathways to get out of this, right? Being an outlaw, right? It's a big part of it. A trickster, an outlaw, just being a good dad, right? Being a pleb. Being a pleb is one of the most important ways things you can practice to get out of this. It's the archetype of the everyman. It's the person who just shows up, keeps their word, right? That's it. That's all you have to do is show up, keep your word, and you'll get through this. You will. This is not going to survive. This is not going to last. We can't live like this, so it's not going to last. So don't get angry about any of this stuff. Don't say, oh, the fucking credentialists are so stupid. The followers are followers. The sports ballers are too busy watching Euro soccer and all these stupid things to care what's going on in the world. And that's all kind of true, right? But don't let that bug you. Because if you let that bug you, you're going to turn into the exact spectacle that people from the fiat propagation networks are waiting for, to say, oh, look, it's their fault. It's their fault, right? They're the ones who did it. So we have to keep smiling. We have to do exactly like Trump's. Trump went and played golf yesterday. Right? He's coming to the Bitcoin show. He's not making a big deal about this. He's not, you know, freaking out about any of this stuff. He's going to the thing. He's coming to the stuff in the weekend. He's going to the RNC. He's coming to our show still next week. I heard Eric Prince, that same guy I was mentioning, is also going to be in Nashville. So I'm going to try and meet with him. So what we got here is a situation where we know how to get out of this. We can continue to show other people how to get out of it. I don't think many will. I heard this one pretty interesting story about a person. I think you are going to see more of these, but here's one that I copied, you know, because I don't want to say it didn't affect anybody. But here's one that you're going to see, I think, anyway. This is someone saying that they thought they were a centrist. They believed they were going to abstain from voting because they thought both options were equally terrible. But then the assassination happened. This is what he says. But watching Trump survive an assassination attempt and act like a total fucking savage just shifted me into some strange patriotic gear that my fancy feminism, white men, bad, infected brain never showed me. Like, dude took a bullet and stood up with blood dripping down his face and rallied a fucking crowd while fist pumping, yelling, fight. Sorry, but I'm voting for that. And saying it out loud feels so freeing. And that's where it's headed, guys. You're going to see more people realize that the pathway to freedom is just not listening to these people, laughing at them, laughing at the Russia collusion, bleach drinking. Trump thinks that half the country who are Nazis are good people, believing any of this stuff, because it's absurd on its face. It's absurd on its face, right? That Trump believed he lost the election and wanted his supporters to steal it. That's what they have to go with the January 6th thing, right? Remember, the January 6th thing, Trump must believe he lost. And so does everyone else have to believe that he lost. No one believes he lost. Nobody who was protesting believes that. So it looks like we're going to actually be able to have all the conversations we need to have. It looks like we have a bit of breathing room for the Republic here, and we can use this time between now and the election in order to save a few more people, help them get out of this brain damage situation they're in. But we also have our own path, which is very clear before us. There's things we can do, and they're very simple. They involve not getting mad and letting this fucking thing sink. It's going to sink. It's over. It can't survive this. Remember what I always say about the propagation fault tolerance of fiat. It's not the same. It's not 50% plus one like Bitcoin, right? It's like 90, 75 to 90, something like that, right? If just 25% don't agree, it's over. It's over. It's done. It's done, and it looks done. So, I expect Mayorkas to be impeached. I think he's so far gone and so blackmailed that we're going to get a lot. He's going to fucking squeal. I can't wait. So wait for Mayorkas to squeal. No choice. That motherfucker is going to squeal. And I think Biden stays in the election now, unless they kill him too, by the way. I think that Remember, there's going to be a counter to this to make it so Trump doesn't come off smelling like roses. They're going to try and do a false flag MAGA retaliation thing. So we're going to have to get through that. It's what Matt Taibbi predicted as far as toxic levels of brainwashing coming. Alex Jones is predicting that this morning. I don't think there's any other way. Remember, so here's one of the things that I said about Trump and winning and all that. And this comes down to how, this isn't how we got Trump at the Bitcoin Magazine show, but this is how we started talking about how to get Trump. So this would have been like last autumn. You'll notice that Scott Pressler is on our agenda and a few of these others. My prediction was he would be killed by nomination day. So one this week, that was my prediction. And I said our best bet is to be the funeral location the week after the RNC. So get all of the people that would be there with the Trump energy to come to our show. And that's the best we can do. And I said it'll work also because if he's not dead, everyone's there and it makes sense for him to come. I sold it to Scott Pressler by saying, look, you're going to be living in the afterglow of the nomination. That's the best time to sign up voters. We're going to be the biggest meeting in the country. Come sign up voters, right? It's the most efficient use of your time. And he was like, yeah, you're right. So many people predicted Trump was going to there would be an attempt on his life by now. The damningest part, again, as I said, is that it happened right after the Supreme Court gave him immunity, which means that they knew the other options of getting him off the board were done. They had to go with the JFK, not the Watergate. They did it. So there you go. Let's see, space drop. Yeah, Mayorkas is a space drop candidate. Mayorkas must be. It's that stupid smile of his. I want it off as he's dropping, or I want to see it as he's dropping. Either way, I can't take that guy's fucking face. I think that guy's got to go. Got to go. All right. So there you go. All right, team. People are primed to believe anything right now. They sure are, CB. Yeah, it's very bad. Yeah, exactly. Eric Prince has a great interview with Tucker. He seems to be angling to replace government service wholesale. That's what I'm saying. I'm saying this is going to be the test case or the example of how to get rid of everything. I think Eric Prince is going to be responsible for the liquidation of USA Inc. and the Washington, D.C. swamp. And I think that this changes VP. I say Mike Flynn gets VP now. I think you need a general. I think you need someone. And remember, when Mike Flynn went to jail, for example, right, what I saw was an actual general abandoning a battleground because he knew he'd lost. And he got out of jail, gathered his forces, and came back. And that's why he wrote 5G Warfare. He understands the war we're in. It's a psychological and economic war. And because it's a psychological and economic war, that's why the money fits so well into it. You have psychological commodities, money. The US dollar is a psychological commodity. Bitcoin is a psychological commodity. But the type of psychology they provoke and induce are what we're actually talking about. One provokes a get close to the guy who has it, get close to the printer, right? Get close to the source of the money. The other is just be efficient so you can make money. So there are two different competing visions of the world. One is satisfy market needs and things will move forward. One is listen to your master and things will move forward. So this is the fight. And that's why the psychological engine inside of the economy, the fuel source matters. The fuel source of the psychological engine, which is the money, is the most important factor. And the fuel source we've used for years is just bootlicking losers telling us they're experts, and then that being propagated around the network as confirmation of their choices. It won't be that way anymore. And Eric Prince is going to be one of the first to get rid of it. So he is going to be a powerful Bitcoiner, very powerful Bitcoiner. Yeah, privatize. Space pancakes, so smug. Yeah, he is so smug. All right, team. What are we seeing here? The transitions because of this. I've seen a lot of these posts on transitions because of this. My favorite essay from her is Egalitarianism. It's a banger, philosophical explanation of inflation. Yeah. All right, team. That's what I got. So just wanted to connect. I missed you all this weekend. Watching all the activities, you know. I was watching it live. I very rarely, I don't watch as many. Yeah, I don't think it's going to be Vivek anymore. I think you now need a war guy. I think Vivek is in charge of like the Malay stuff of liquidating the government. I think he'd be great at that. But I don't think you need a VC to do that. It's sort of an executive level thing, right? So I think he can handle that. I think he's got to be away from Trump day to day. Trump's not easy to work for, right? So you don't want Vivek getting all fucking Trump anxiety. I know because I knew his last chief of staff, Mitch Mulvaney, who used to be called the Bitcoin congressman, but Trump abused him, just treated him so shitty. Trump's not an easy guy to work for, right? So that's okay. I mean, he's not Hitler. He's just not an easy guy to work for. So I hope whatever Vivek gets, it's executive enough that he's away from the everyday of the president. And yeah, there you go. There you go. That's what I hope. Oh yeah, what did I want to see? There you go. Bitcoin Deb says voter box. Yeah, the battle box. Yeah. The battle box. Yeah. Crypto Truth, he drank his moths. Good job. Yeah. What jurisdiction will allow them to file suit for payment due to their earned papa points? Nothing. It's a complete scam. Yeah. Yeah, it works. Oh, you'd get a wedgie, Crypto Truth. Yeah, it's not. There's not a lot of real. That was at the camp. My real kids do get stuff. You know, they're spoiled. So, but not that spoiled. And the papa points are a great deception coming their way. So, which I look forward to. But they already love Bitcoin. Don't worry. You know what they call dollars? Villain money. There's the villain. There's the villain. Why do they have villain money there? Yeah, we'll see if I do it, CB. We'll see. I can go tomorrow too. I might do it tomorrow. All right, that's all I got, team. Have a great day.